So picture this, a billionaire sitting at the center table of one of those New York restaurants where the chandeliers look like they're dripping in liquid gold, where the wine glasses cost more than some people's rent, and every suit is tailored to fit a body that never bent down to tie its own shoes. And this guy Hans Kruger glances once at the waitress, just once, then turns to his friends and laughs in German. She probably doesn't understand a word. This kind only knows how to clear tables. And the whole group snickers, smirks flying around like flies on garbage. And you'd think that would be the end of it. You'd think she'd just keep her head down. But no, cause when Anna came back with their food, she placed each dish perfectly, then said in flawless Berlin German, "This dish is exactly as you requested, not a single detail wrong." And the room actually stuttered, forks halfway to mouths. Eyes darting to Hans, whose smile faltered just a fraction, because this woman he'd written off as invisible had just cut through his arrogance like glass cracking under pressure. And here's the thing, Anna didn't look like she belonged in that world, not by their standards anyway. Her black shirt was plain, her shoes scuffed like they'd carried her through miles of sidewalk, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, no makeup, no jewelry, just a slim frame moving steady through a room dripping in excess. And it wasn't until she opened her mouth that they even saw her. You know what I mean? Because in that moment, she stopped being the shadow who cleared plates and became something else entirely, something they couldn't quite pin down. Hans, of course, couldn't let it slide. Arrogance doesn't back down that easy. So he leaned back in his chair with that smug grin, his watch catching the light like it wanted its own applause. And he said in English loud enough for everyone around to hear, "Cute. But let's be honest, this job is probably the biggest thing she'll ever do." And his friends howled like hyenas, one of them pointing out her shoes, another shaking his head as if he pitied her existence. The woman in the red dress laughing with her perfectly painted lips. "You should invest in better shoes. Honey, you're embarrassing yourself." Their laughter was sharp, meant to sting, meant to remind her of her place. But Anna, she just kept moving, her jaw tightening barely, her back straightening a little more, and she said, almost under her breath but clear enough, "I wear what works." That line sliced the air cleaner than any champagne cork, and you could feel the room lean just a little, like maybe, just maybe, the cruelty was starting to taste sour. Still, Hans pushed harder. Works for what? Scrubbing floors? And a few of his friends laughed again. But thinner now, a few nearby tables shifting uncomfortably, because arrogance is entertaining until it's not, until it reveals more about the bully than the target. Anna didn't give him the satisfaction. She just carried on, serving a table of French tourists with such ease that the whole restaurant caught its breath when she slipped into perfect French, describing the sauce, the balance of thyme and wine, her voice smooth and confident, the French guests clapping their hands delighted, one of them even saying she understood flavor better than most chefs, and at that point Hans's smirk wasn't fooling anyone. And then came the breaking point, Hans calling over the manager, his voice sharp and loud, accusing Anna of spilling wine earlier, completely unprofessional, and the whole restaurant froze, like forks midair, glasses hovering, everyone waiting to see her get crushed, the manager's face already stern as he turned to her. And Anna, she just stood calm, her tray balanced steady, no panic in her eyes. But before she could even defend herself, the older man with the salt and pepper hair, the one who'd been watching her closely, stood up, his voice cutting through the silence. "That's not true. I've been here all night, and her service has been flawless." And just like that, Hans's game cracked, his smugness slipping as the older man leaned in close and whispered something only he could hear, something that made his face pale. You'd think that would be the end of it, but Hans, desperate to claw back, pulled a crisp $100 bill from his wallet, tossed it on the table like scraps. "A tip for you, so you remember not to act above your station." And I swear, the groan that went through the room was louder than his arrogance, because people had had enough. But Anna, she picked up the bill, set it right back in front of him, and said quietly, "I don't take what doesn't belong to me." Then, like she'd been waiting for the perfect moment, she reached into her bag, pulled out a sleek gold-embossed card, and set it on the table right next to his insult of a tip. The card glowed under the chandelier light, and suddenly every eye in the restaurant was on it, because it wasn't just any card, It was a shareholder ID for one of the biggest banks in the country, the very bank Hans bragged about being a VIP client of. Your money, Anna said softly, also comes from me. And just like that, the storm broke. Hans's face flushed crimson. His mouth opened, but no words came out. A phone camera flash went off. The whispers spread like wildfire, and the whole energy of the restaurant flipped. Suddenly, Anna wasn't the invisible waitress. She was the force everyone wanted to understand. Guests who'd laughed before were staring at their plates, embarrassed. The woman in the red dress picking at her nails like she wanted to disappear. The wiry guy scrolling his phone furiously. Hans shrinking in his chair as the weight of silence pressed down. And Anna? She didn't gloat, didn't linger. She just kept serving, kept moving, her steps steady, her presence now impossible to ignore. And here's the twist that nobody saw coming. When Hans tried one last weak jab, if you're so wealthy, why waitress? Anna set down her tray, looked him straight in the eye, and said, because I invest in people, not just numbers. I'm buying this restaurant chain to create jobs, scholarships, opportunities. And the entire place exhaled, the kind of exhale that happens when someone tells the truth so clean it hurts. An elderly man even stood, shook her hand, his voice cracking. That's the kind of heart this world needs. By the next morning, the photo of her card was everywhere, social media ripping apart Hans and his crew, sponsors dropping them like stones, whispers spreading through their circles, reputations unraveling quietly, because the truth always catches you. It just takes time. And Anna? She didn't stick around for the fallout. She clocked out like any other shift, her husband waiting quietly at the door, tall, commanding without saying a word, and together they walked out into the night, Anna never once looking back, because she didn't need to. And that's where the debate kicks in, right? Was she right to reveal who she was, to expose them like that? Or should she have stayed hidden, let the arrogance eat itself from within? Did Hans get what he deserved? Or was it overkill? Because the line between justice and humiliation, it's razor thin, and stories like this are where people argue, where we see what we value, what we believe dignity looks like in a world obsessed with status. So tell me, where do you land on this? Was Anna right, or did she go too far? Drop your thoughts below, share your take on justice, pride, and power, because trust me, this is one of those stories that doesn't end when the night does. It lives on in the questions we keep asking ourselves.